So Archer Queen's Ultra is also really good with the Expo spell that you can get. The Expo shoots very similar arrows to what the Archer Queen has, which is like that 3-shot.
What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Squadcast, episode 6. I am here with full frontage, and in today's episode, we are going to be breaking down the Ultra evolutions that just came inside of Squad Busters. Full, what are your thoughts on Ultras?
Well, let me say I put in about, 7 million gold and I have one. So
Close.
But at least I will say,
Okay.
So surprisingly, the one I got was Barbarian King. So I am very happy with that because he's got that super rage spell, and oh man, that thing makes a difference. So I'm pretty content with the Ultra that I did end up getting.
Well, at least you got one of the best ones inside of the game for sure. A lot of other ones, I wouldn't say are mediocre, but don't really do too much. However, there are some that are interesting, right? So you have the chicken, where when you're holding down turbo, the chicklets spawn faster. You also have the Hog Rider, who, the turbo increases your movement speed even more. So I feel like there's going to be a lot of, more movement focused with these Ultras, especially with the Hog Rider, because, movement's a huge part of the game. And then you also have Max, where Max's Ultra is the speed boost it lasts much longer. So I feel like Ultra forms are enhancements on what's already there inside of the game for most, obviously not for all. But what Ultras, in your opinion, stand out? I know you said you Barbarian King, which is what you have, but what other Ultras are you looking forward to, playing with? And do you think any Ultras are going to take over the game?
So Archer Queen's Ultra is also really good with the Expo spell that you can get. The Expo shoots very similar arrows to what the Archer Queen has, which is like that 3-shot bolt. The Witch one is interesting also because it has the skeletons getting stronger. It says stronger bones and a sharp dagger. Basically, it means the skeletons have more health and deal more damage. What those numbers are, we don't know yet. Hopefully, we'll be able to get some information on that. But honestly, one of the other ones that I thought was really interesting and kind of a game changer a little bit is Greg's Ultra. So Greg, with his Ultra, trees will now drop a heart. So he is in turn almost in line with Penny as a supplier. So Penny has the highest DPS in the game for like a basic unit. And with her treasure maps, it has the opportunity to spawn in keys, but it was like guaranteed hearts. So now Greg is going to be able to drop hearts. So if you don't have Penny and you don't really have a healer, or you only have one healer and it's not enough, then having Greg in your squad is a pretty decent option now, just because of the fact that you can now get healing back to your squad. So I think Greg's Ultra form is a little bit underrated than most people would think.
Yeah, I think it's really important to note that Medic and Pam are mostly used for the role of extra healing. So anytime you can get extra healing, whether that be hearts, anywhere, especially for somebody like Greg, right, where I don't really recommend ever playing with Greg, but that's just my personal opinion. However, now if you're going to be able to get hearts as well, now he adds I skirmished in the early game, I lost some health with mobs, now he's going to top off my units as well. It adds more value to what Greg is, and now it's kind of like, all right, if I can clear out 2 trees in the mid game, now my entire army is 100% topped off. That's a huge difference that just one Greg can make now for that. With Mavis, I know that she gains more bonus loot from carrot patches with her Ultra form, which is a nice Ultra form for Mavis there. And I just think that Greg is definitely going to be somebody who I would be on the lookout for when you do get the Ultra form. But as far as that's concerned, right, let's go over and look at Medic's. Medic's form is throwing heal packs much faster. Now, I'm curious to see what this would look like in a late game team fight where you have an army of medics and heavies, and you just sit there and you just heal standing still. Like, that's kind of, going to be very, very interesting. And I feel like, how much faster does it heal? We're not 100% sure. It does feel a little bit faster, substantially faster, I should say. So what's going to be the meta when, there still is this coming soon spot as well on the bottom right. So, just like you said, like Greg, getting the extra hearts and everything like that, for these characters, they definitely are getting stronger. Do you think that Ultra forms are going to change how people play certain characters inside of the game?
I think there's definitely potential for it. Like Bo in his Ultra form, mines will now deal much more damage to monsters. So like Bo is becoming like essentially a must-have. And someone in one of my videos in the comment section brought up a good point where it's like, if you look at Bo and his fusion, Bo does 250 damage per second. If you look at Heavy in its base form does 250 damage per second. So it's like, why would someone choose having Bo over a Heavy? And when you think about it, it's like, okay, well, the Bo is dealing 100% more damage. So with the super form or with the fusion form, Bo is dealing 500 damage per shot, but then Heavy's fusion form is also dealing 500 DPS. So it's kind of like that trade-off of like, well, you can kind of choose between either option, because if you're comparing both options with their fusion forms, you're going to look at who you have available. So essentially in that aspect, sure, Heavy could fill the role of Bo in terms of dealing higher DPS to monsters, because they're going to deal the same amount of DPS theoretically, even with Bo's abilities. But it's going to be, what do you have? If you have Bo and Heavy, maybe you want to go Heavy. If you only have Bo, then Bo with his Ultra form is now still a really good option for you, and you're not really missing out on the aspect of like having a Heavy to deal with your NPCs. So it's like later in the game, a lot of these characters are seeing like similar aspects where it's like they're easily replaceable with each other, and you can still go into each game with a similar strategy and not feel like you're missing out on too much. So I think like the more the Ultra evolution coming in is really just enhancing the strategies that we were already kind of using and just making it more widely accessible to different characters. Like we mentioned, we were just talking about Greg. He can heal now. That's huge. So he's not only a supplier giving you coins and gems, he's also giving you health. So it's like filling in roles that like you can kind of pick and choose how you play, and it really just comes down to who has the best strategy.
Yeah, and now that you mention that, I also want to bring up, I just feel that green world character and early game characters, right? From the green, desert, Royal Beach. I feel more and more just looking at the stats now that, we kind of see them in the game with the fusions, as I'm looking at it more and really taking it in. I'm feeling that the units are way weaker in the early stages. Like, if you have, in green world characters, right? Or even in desert world where you're going to be unlocking Bo, he's so much weaker than a beach world Heavy in every aspect of the game. Like, there's no reason why you would ever choose a Bo over a Heavy. There's just not. Maybe because of the mines. That's really the only reason now. But like, people kind of avoid them. It's like, it's almost at the point where I think they need to do just a little bit of the tuning, especially on the earlier characters. Because like you said, right, Bo's main focus is to clear out monsters, and he's a little bit better because it's 125% damage to monsters with his classic evolution, I believe it is. Or no, super evolution, sorry. But that's still not enough comparatively to, let's just say a Heavy who's doing that role, or even, a Mavis, which does still a lot of damage, 250 damage just as a supplier, right? So I think that a couple of these characters do need to get buffed a little bit, and I kind of personally want to see some characters just get a little bit of a buff, right? So the Barbarian, in my opinion, one of the biggest two are the Barbarian and Bow. The main reason why I want the Barbarian to get a little buff is because it does 280 DPS and it has 4,800 HP when fused up. And Shelly does more fused up and has an ability, right? So it's almost to the point where in what world would you want to have a Barbarian over a Shelly, right? Like the Barbarian's going to get in the front line. It's going to be elite. You know what I mean? It's going to have a little bit, bigger, but the Shelly has the ability. It knocks back. It's stronger. And I just feel like some of these characters, like even the Goblin, for instance, right? The Goblin, fused up. The biggest problem that I have with the Goblin is it's too fast. I understand the Goblins are always fast, and I understand that's how it's going to be, but the Goblin always is the first person in the front lines that's going after the enemy. And if they have one tank,
and they get wrecked.
If they have one tank, the Goblin, I feel like the Goblin gets one shot every single time. It could be a fused Goblin. It's just gone. It's just gone. It probably does. Yeah, and I feel like that's something that they do need to fix inside of the game is characters feeling like they just get one shot, whether that be backline or whether that be the front line. And I'm kind of curious to see, speaking of tank's heavy, tank's going to be form, ultra form is going to be, it's going to repair while it's doing overdrive. So not only is it decimating the opponent, now you could just stand still because it's going to heal itself. You're going to have, a medic that's going to heal it. And it's going to cause, a very, very big issue for opponents, especially when you can get that fused tank. And I do like the fact that they are putting ultra forms where they are getting more skills. I just think that the characters in the game right now that are already powerful, I just feel like they are getting more powerful, right? I feel like the best ultras in the game right now are going to be like the tank healing. I think Greg's is really good, but I think the Barbarian King and the Archer Queens are probably one of the best, and they already are the best characters inside of the game. I would just like to see weaker units get better ultra forms. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's feeling like there's a lot of things that are just currently overlapping in the game. Like we mentioned, like some of the ultra forms right now, the two that come to mind just because we were talking about them, like Greg and Tank, they now have healing abilities. Heavy, in his ultra, he's going to heal faster when he's shooting. So it's like, it's getting a little bit limited. But I feel like that's also kind of okay because when you evolve them, like the stats don't change. So it's not like there's going to be a huge difference between like a super barbarian versus a ultra barbarian, right? It's going to be, their stats are going to be the exact same. It's just the ability that's different. So it also doesn't feel like I don't mind that they don't change that much right now, because of how hard ultras are to get. Like you need 1,000 babies to get an ultra, which is a lot.
It's 1 million gold, by the way.
Yeah. So
if you just bought it from the shop.
Yeah. So it's like, it's one of those things where it's like some of the abilities are pretty decent, but some of them aren't too game changing, which is not a bad thing because it kind of makes it less pay to win in a sense. Some of the forms, like we mentioned, like the big drastic ones that just pop into my head are Barbarian King and Archer Queen, but those are outliers. Like they're like based on the heroes in Clash of Clans and like what they are. Well, Barbarian King's not in Clash Royale, but Archer Queen is, and she's like a champion. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like maybe the ultras not being insanely different is actually good for the game because it makes it a little less pay to win.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like a lot of characters are getting healing, and I feel like it's taking away
from the healers,
right? Like I just feel like, why get a medic now? Almost, it's like, you know what I mean? And I just feel like characters don't have enough hit points for you to be just giving everybody healing, right? Like hearts are great and everything. And I just feel like the more and more characters that get healing, and like, here's the thing, right? Like El Primo heals a lot after an elbow drop. Like all of a sudden we just got El Primo has healing in the game now. Who else has healing? We have healing much more after the chest is the battle healer now. It's just everybody, you know, it tank, you know, heavy, almost everybody has like a self heal. And it's kind of one of those situations where it's becoming healing squad busters. And that's kind of, I don't know if I like that too much.
Yeah, it's interesting. One other Ultra form that I feel like is super underrated is Bees. So Bees is, the Bees will circle around her much faster. And those things deal a lot of damage. Like if you get hit by multiple of those, especially when she's in her fusion form, you could take a lot of damage just from those bees. So the fact that they're circling around faster, that heavily increases her DPS. So I feel like that's another Ultra form that's probably super slept on.
Yeah, no, I think that Bee is definitely super strong, and I feel like she, in my opinion, is one of the best characters inside of the game, just because you don't want to really fight around that circle. Like, your ranged units will get hit by that, and there's really not much you can do. And, you know, if you are chasing, you're getting hit by their bees, and you're not dealing damage to them. So that's kind of
lose-lose.
Yeah. It's a lose-lose, and that's why I personally love to get B, you know, especially 2 or 3 of them in my squad if I can, because you could just run around the entire time, never stop. And one of my best strategies, leaking some secret information here, is just chickens and bees.
Yeah.
You just run the entire time, you steal everybody's stuff, and nobody can chase you. If you have 14 blue blue turbo boost, and you're just running around, you're dealing a ton of damage with your B. You're super annoying to everybody. Nobody wants to get anywhere near you, and you really can't stop that. You know, all you have to do is pick up one hog rider as well as you start going over patches. And, you know, it's now that bees are going to circle much faster, it's going to even do a lot more damage. Just like you were mentioning on episode 5 that was on Full Frontage's channel. If you guys have not checked that out, we'll leave a link in the description. You were mentioning that things happened inside of a match where, you know, whether you got it and you were not able to clear out troops, or they were running from you, right? If you were just running around and picking out the backline units of people who you were playing against and then just running away. And I feel like these strategies are going to be even more prevalent with ultras, because if you pick off one at a time, that's what you're going to want to do, because everybody's going to be able to heal now. But if you pick off one squad member at a time, that's where you're going to get the value.
Now you can't heal a dead squad member.
Yeah.
You can't heal that.
No.
Mortis won't help you there.
No. Can't do anything. That's...
I see a lot of people in the top rating B kind of low, because it's like you have to leave the middle to get her, like, the beehives. But, like, it's not that far out of the middle. B, it doesn't go out of the vines unless you're playing on the Angry Vines modifier. And honestly, like, if I'm in 3rd place or whatever and there's like 30 seconds left and I open a chest and there's a bee right there, I'm taking her and I'm running out, I'm grabbing that hive and I'm coming back in. And it's like, sure, I spent some turbo, but, you know, I'll either build it back up, or hopefully I just have chickens that I was able to save up and I'm sitting on, like, you know, like 10 turbo boosts at that point. But I feel like leaving the middle to get the beehives is not that impactful, right? Like, you can just step away and step right back into the action. and it's not going to detrimentally change your game.
No, I feel like, in my personal opinion, and this is why I think chess key fragments are not that great for the game, because if you can get a fusion and then use rerolls to get either a B or a tank in the middle, in the mid game, that's all you need. Like, you don't need anything else to win a match besides a fusion tank or a fusion B. You get in that thing and you just let it drive you to victory. And that's like, the more I play, the more I'm almost like, all right, like, I'm starting to understand the people who are winning are the ones getting these Bs that are just instantly fused up, or getting a tank that's instantly fused up and just taking over the entire match.
Yeah. Oh, when I see, like, at the top, you basically have to use fusion keys. So like when I use my fusion key and I just see a tank or a B, I'm just like, oh, it's like, I'll just sit in the middle now. Like, I can just, somebody comes in, boom, pick them off with the tank, and then they just run away. And it's like, cool, thanks for the 20 gems.
Nobody wants to go anywhere near a fusion tank. It is.
No.
How much damage does that do? I really want to know, how much damage does it do? It does.
The thing is, it doesn't say in, like, I don't think it says in game, because like fusion, it says 260 DPS. Ain't no way it's 260 DPS.
You know what? I think it does a goblin's worth of deep damage. Okay, I think it does I think it one shots a goblin. Okay,
I'd probably say it does 1300 damage.
Yeah, I think it does that. But here's the thing: it's also, when it's in overdrive, doesn't it do more damage? So
I know it just attacks faster.
It just So either way,
which is even more crazy. Like,
it just does so much damage.
Tank is S tier, hands down.
Oh yeah, no, tank and B, in my opinion, are just S tier for the control. But tank is like
S plus. It's like hard to rate her, because like even in my tier list, like I'm still putting Barbarian King and Archer Queen above tanks, because if you like think about it this way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, the reason Archer Queen is above tank, here's why. Because Archer Queen makes tank better, because it increases the attack speed of range units. So tank is already S tier, but when you pair it with the Archer Queen, it makes tank even better. So like, you have to get Archer Queen to make tank even better. So Archer Queen is better than tank.
I wonder, is tank classified as a ranged unit in tank form? Or is she still classified as a melee? Is she?
That,
Is she a melee? She's a melee character, right? Without the tank.
I'm in a training camp right now, and I'm going to approach and see if she throws something or if she punches it.
I don't even know that answer, because
she punches it.
Yeah, right? I'm pretty sure she punches it. So now here's the thing. Does the game recognize her in a tank form as a ranged character, even though, because it's a machine. It's not, she's still a melee character inside of a machine. Now that is something we need to find out, because
let me we're gonna try this on the fly. I'm
just getting Archer Queen or Barbarian King with her.
Yeah, I'm trying to grab Barbarian King with the melee form.
But how would we even really see?
So far, I'm only running into, I'm hitting refresh multiple times, and I'm just only getting like maxes and battle healers as my epics.
Oh, that's funny.
I think something's wrong with me. Like, I don't.
Oh man, that's funny. Yeah, but regardless, though, I'm at the point where ultras are fine. I do like them. I do like it's not a huge power creep. However, there are some, like you said, like Barbarian King or Archer Queen, that are going to be able to take out the game. But we will pretty much have an answer for you in the comment section, whether tank is a melee or a ranged in the tank form. We will figure that out. Somehow, some way, we will figure that out and let each and every single one of you know.
I'd like to think, like, just based on the fact that the fact that tank was in her in her tank girl form when she's not in the tank, she's punching. So theoretically, it should be that she gets melee buff.
Right? How broken would that be? You just run Barbarian Kings and tanks.
Yeah, because then if you have Barbarian King, you just get the tank form, and then if you're, we will find out one way or the other for sure. But I'm very curious to see how this goes, if it is one way or the other.
Yeah. But we'll definitely figure all that out for you, though. But we're definitely going to wrap up this episode of the Squadcast. If you guys have any ideas for the Squadcast for episode 7, please let us know. We are probably going to be in Helsinki when this airs. Launching Squad Busters very soon. I think this will come out probably 24 hours, maybe 48 hours before the game launches global, so that'll be super fun.
Who knows?
Yeah, and if you guys have anything you want to ask the Squad Busters team, leave it in the comments, and maybe we'll see it and we'll ask them when we see them. But thank you guys so much for watching this episode of the Squadcast, and we will see you for the next one. Until then, guys, take it easy.